Okay, so sorry everybody. I don't know what happened, but we're here now, so hopefully everybody's still on board. But yeah, so I just this was just to help you guys understand sort of what an internet presence is. I'm sure a lot of you have bumped into a lot of the things that I'm talking about, but what I'm trying to do here is try to pull it all together so you can see sort of how all the little pieces work together to give you what I would say a full internet presence. So we can go to the next slide. And I'll blaze through this. This is me. This is the guy who was having a hard time getting in here today. But so I've got half a marketing background. I've been doing this since 2006. I live in Edgewood. I've been a lifelong resident of Greater Cincinnati. Way back when I got a marketing degree at University of Kentucky. So that's good enough for that. So basically, these are the pieces of the puzzle that I think, especially these days, are very important for an internet presence. So I'll go through these real quick, and then we'll go in and we'll visit each one of them, pretty quick also. But what is an internet presence package? So to me, it's a website. It's some kind of a content, especially blogs. We have to do search engine optimization, so when people search for certain keywords, they can find your business. And it makes sense to do local SEO and regular SEO because they are different. One's tied to maps and all this other kind of deal. Since we're all carrying around a computer in our pocket that has GPS, so that's why the local is so important these days. Social media, I'm sure you guys see that all the time. E-newsletters to make sure that all that content that we're creating gets out to everybody, and then that we have certain focused e-blasts when we have new things to talk about. What I mean by lead generation campaigns, and we'll get into this, but those are just different like campaigns of like maybe 3 to where you get some interest and we send those out in a group that they might give them every other couple days, and then it culminates into a call of action to get business or a meeting or whatever it is that you're after. Online reviews are so important even for businesses these days that aren't just consumer facing. Business to business. I mean, everybody needs these reviews anymore, and it's how Google looks at everything. Video and graphics, especially video, is just it's almost a need these days, and then especially graphics because of Instagram's charge, and especially with the under 45 crowd that are slowly taking over all of these businesses. And then I've got down podcasts because they're such a big thing right now, especially if you have something to explain or to prove your credentials and that kind of deal. Podcast is great, and it gets a cut of your jib kind of thing because you get to be in the marketing and they get to understand who you are also. And then analytics, we have to test this thing and show everything. So we'll move on to a website. So this is where all the content resides. You own this area, and that's why it's so important to have all of these blogs and all the content there, because Facebook or anybody else could change something overnight and just ruin everything that you've been working at. We want to use those tools, but we don't want to be committed to only one of those tools in case they pull the rug out from underneath of us. And it's happened a couple times in the last even 5 years where they've changed a lot of things, and it's really upset the apple cart on some people that had all their eggs in one basket. So the website's really important for that. We want to put in educational blogs that have keywords in them so that when people search and trying to learn things that they find you. And then these featured work posts, these are some of the things that my customers get some of the most traction from. And it's just showing every day what you're doing with those online reviews. This is the person that I'm working with. This is how I helped them. Here's the third-party review. People see themselves in these, and then they want to do business with you. And we want to get sort of into the details as much as we can without embarrassing anybody or anything like that, so that they can understand how it is that you help these people every day, and then that'll bring in a lot of customers. So we're trying to get the keywords to bring the people to the website, but then we want to then prove that you're good at what you do instead of beat your chest and say you're good at what you do. So this is how we show the proof. And the videos and the podcast and more are all going to reside there also. We want to keep it clean and make it deep and not wide. And what I mean by deep and not wide is we want people to click in, but we don't want somebody to come into the website and feel like they're looking at an encyclopedia they can never read. We want to show them, certain things that are the most important things to them and how we can solve their problem. And then if they're more interested, they can click in deeper and get more information. Okay, next. And so these are the blogs I was talking about. So the educational blogs, those are ones reaching out for a certain keyword, featured work posts, proving what you do. We're going to do all kinds of search engine optimization on the page for posts and pages, because there's still some little nitty gritty things that we need to do inside the website. It's not as important as it used to be, but it still has validity. So we still go in there and do that too. But the big thing that Google wants is content put out consistently, going after certain keywords and then shared in a whole bunch of spots. And I've got down here lead bait. This is kind of like white papers and different things that your customers might be interested in and that they will exchange information for so that you can put them into your funnel. So we'll go on to the next. So the search engine optimization. So I've got down here factors that affect search engine optimization. So sharing helpful, consistent content. We've talked about that a little bit. We're going to do things on the web page and in the post. Those are the nuts and bolts things I was telling you about. One of the big things that is a signal to Google these days is social media activity. So it's a signal every time that you put a post out on Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere that it makes sense for you to put these social media posts. They're keeping track of that, and then they're seeing how much engagement you're getting and how much traffic you're getting back to the website with those posts. And those are one of the things that they want you to do. Your website speed, we need to make sure that we're getting our point across and it looks good, but not to the point where it's slowing down everything, because people hate waiting on things, especially if we have some spotty internet or something that comes through. And then we want a responsive design. This isn't as big of a problem, but I still run into some smaller businesses where the websites don't look good on the mobile phones. So we have to make sure, because if not, Google will penalize you largely. Same way with having a secure site. You have to have a secure site these days, or Google puts up a big message and people feel like they're vulnerable. So we don't want that to happen. We have to make sure we have a secure site and a responsive design. And then one of the big things we were talking about for the local SEO is the 800-pound gorilla is Google, of course, and it's Google My Business. That's what I mean by GMB there. We have to make sure our Google My Business page is filled out as best as we can with the right categories, with the right keywords and all that kind of deal. And we need to make sure that we have citations out there. And what that means is all the different directories out there, we need to make sure that all that same information that is on Google My Business is also on as many directories as you can, because that is another thing. Because when Google searches, they look at all this stuff in a second or two. And if some of the information's out of whack, where I got down here the NAP, the NAP, that's the name, address, and phone. If the name, address, and phone is gone, but somebody else has it right on a whole bunch of different directories, Google might pick them before us. So we need to make sure we've got all of our ducks in a row and we're rowing in the same direction. So that's the local SEO. There's a lot more to that, but that's a brief overview. Next. And then we're really familiar with social media. So all that content that we're creating with those keyword, those search engine optimized blogs and the featured work posts and all that kind of deal, those are what we're going to then send out on social media, along with some other things to get engagement and that kind of thing. And all that stuff's going to go in. Some things would be like put in evergreen because they might be good all through the year. Some things might just be put in because it's a promotion for a month, or some things might only be good seasonally. So we want to make sure that all those posts keep going in and we fill up those feeds so that people can see it. Because it's sometimes tough to get through these feeds without paying for it. So we have to make sure that we have the right amount of posts going out and all that kind of deal. And what I got down here is the big four right now are Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And they all sort of go after a different audience. I think for you guys, the most important thing would be Facebook and LinkedIn, and then Instagram's probably a third and Twitter's probably a fourth. If you have some really graphic things that we want to show and we're going after a more feminine audience, sometimes Pinterest is is an option there too. And then what I got down here is something next quarter, because who knows what's coming out, but things come in and they can sort of take over the world for a while. So we just sort of always have to be on the lookout. Next slide. And then e-newsletters and e-blast. We briefly went over that when I was explaining all those different things that I feel we need for internet presence. But the big thing is an e-newsletter. Whatever we sort of do in the last 30 days, we want to share with everybody who has subscribed to our e-newsletter list. So that's what we would send out as an e-newsletter. And it would be like a title, a picture, a little blurb, and then a link back to go to the website, because that's where we want them. We want to get them back to the website so we can convert them there into a customer, or try to get their information with some of that lead bait we were talking about. There's a whole, and it's also going to draw up your traffic, which Google looks at as one of the reasons why, they're going to give you the listing on the first page instead of somebody else. So all this stuff sort of works together and exponentially helps each other. So that's sort of, let me see if there's anything else. And then the big thing is we want to consistently send and make sure that everybody who wants to know about our information is getting it, and everybody sort of absorbs this stuff in different ways. Some people are going to be more social media. Some people like to get it in their inbox. Some people like to come to the site, any way that they can get it. So that's sort of the idea behind that. And e-blast are specific things that we want to send out. Maybe we have a promotion that we want to send out, or maybe we want to focus on something each month and have that sent out maybe 15 days before they get the e-newsletter. So that's that. Next slide, please. Lead generation campaign. So this is what we were talking about, where we create for each one of your target markets and niches, we would sort of create a lead campaign. So over time, we'd create one. We usually do about one a month here at Main Street Marketing for our clients until we have all of them. But it's like 3 email. The first one is sort of like reiterating what the campaign's about, and maybe the second one is showing some of those featured work things that you do for people, and the third one might be, hey, go to Calendarly and let's have a meeting, or let's meet somewhere, or whatever. So once we have one of these for each one of your target markets and niches and services and all these kinds of things, then when you're talking on the phone to people, you could say, hey, can I send you something to reiterate what I was just talking to you about? And then they'll give you their contact information, and now they're in the lead funnel. Now they're probably going to get the e-newsletter and all the other kind of things. And then you stay on top of mind after the phone call is gone, because now for the next probably 7 to 10 days, they're going to get your next 3 emails in their inbox. So those were the lead generation campaigns. So next slide. Online reviews. We were talking about how important they are, even to business these days. They're huge for the local search engine optimization also. And the big ones, we're going to want to try to get reviews on Google and Facebook. Those are the big ones. But Yelp can also help in certain situations. And then I just got down here, happy customers won't be proactive enough to give you a review. You need to request them. A review system works the best. So usually a review system, that is sort of like one of those lead generation campaigns where it's set up to where every time you get a new customer, you just go to a page, put in a name, a text, or an email, or both, and then that will remind them to give you the reviews. For most of my customers, they're seeing anywhere from 15 to 20% of those come back. So that it's a numbers game. But then you get all these reviews and you're standing above the other people, especially with local search engine optimization. And then when you get those good reviews back, I see it, and then I tell my customers, hey, okay, we got a good review back. Now it's time to write a featured work post. And so that's how that all sort of works together. Next slide, please. And then I was telling you about videos and graphics. It used to be small business didn't play too much with video, but the social media is getting so crowded and saturated that videos will stand out above the pictures and just the blogs and all that kind of stuff. We want to do both, but it's really great to have a nice group of videos. So, and there's all kinds of different videos to do: explainer videos, overview product or service videos, testimonial videos where people were, instead of you just explaining, we're actually hearing them talk about you, that kind of deal. And then educational or tutorial videos where we walk them through how to do certain things maybe they need to do on an internet, or just explain things to them so they can hear you explain things, anything like that. And then we're going to use those videos in blogs, on web pages, on social media. And then graphics are so important anymore for Instagram, and Instagram is really, everybody uses it, but it is sort of a go-to for some of the under 45 crowd. So we want to for sure be there. It's about, getting a point across visually. Some lists are usually good, sort of like benefits to XYZ, and then you list 5 things with a address on the bottom that's very short, so they can type that in. And we can also use those videos and graphics in lead generation campaigns. Okay, next slide, please. And then podcasts. I think you're all familiar with podcasts, but so they're very easy. You can have conversations with people and record those, or you can just do them yourselves. A lot of the podcasts that I see doing the best are shorter. They're like 15 to 30 minutes. It depends on what you're talking about, but most of the time it's about a specific topic. You're getting down to it, and the big thing with podcasts is to be consistent. If I can get those graphic files, or somebody else who does what I do gets those graphic files, I'm sorry, not the audio files, then they can turn that into a podcast and then make sure that gets out to all the right people at Google and Apple and Spotify and wherever else it's important for your niche. And we were talking about the different types of podcasts. And again, this is just content, so we can use these again in blogs, web pages, social media posts, lead generation campaigns. It's like anytime we create this content, and that's the thing that sort of fuels the whole internet presence part. Once we create this content, we can use it in a whole bunch of different channels. The most important thing is to create the content and then find the best way to distribute it. Next. And then analytics. So, we need to go in. One of the things I say about analytics is, let's see how many people are coming to the website. Where are they coming from? How long are they staying on the site? Where we're going to try to figure out where we want to really focus on our efforts, or where we need to improve, that kind of thing. What I always say is, I don't want to get trapped too far into the minutia. The big thing is how it's helping your bottom line. So if you're getting leads from it, we're doing the right things. We're always going to keep optimizing. That's the big thing. But sometimes I can see people getting in speeds and feeds too much, to the point where it traps them. So there's a nice line to walk. So we provide all these analytics and we help you understand them, but we don't want to get bogged down in them. The big thing we want to do is make you more money, because that's the whole idea for both of us. So there's other things that you can do also. You can take so Google Analytics is huge, but there's also aggregators out there that can pull in all the different social media and all the different Google Analytics and everything, all the email marketing, everything all in one spot. So you can click on one thing and sort of get like a heartbeat to see how you're doing on all the different things. And then one of the things with the bulk email software like MailChimp or something like that, those you can go in there and see who's clicking on that. That's going to come with a name. So that's really important. So each time those e-newsletters or those e-blasts go out, you can have your business development people or your sales people go in and see exactly who's interested, who clicked on what, how many times, who looked on whatever, to try to figure out where the low-hanging fruit is. Next, please. And so this is the internet presence package. This is what I do for most of my customers. And it's all those things we just talked about. I always, I don't have any contracts or anything. I just go work month to month, because I want to work with people that I can help and who are happy to work with me and all that kind of deal. Everything I work on for them is theirs. It's normally $500 a month. And it includes, I didn't really talk about this too much because this is the actual package, but it includes an overhauled or a new WordPress website if you need it. It's also all the hosting and then all the other things that we just talked about. Normally $500 a month, but for anybody here on the phone, I have a discounted trial rate that I would do for $400 a month and keep it at that rate from now until the end of 2022. So, yep, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to run through that. I know that was pretty quick. But, don't want to waste too much of your time. And that's
awesome.
it.
We have a couple of questions for you, Dan, if you don't mind answering a couple.
Sure. Yes.
Awesome. So the first question is it even worth it to create a website without consistent content generation? Like, is it worth it just to have a website with just an about page, contact us page, things like that?
Yeah, I think it is important. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a whole bunch of, lead generation or help from it, but it would look sort of like you were missing something, and people may think, if they're skipping this, what else are they skipping? Or are they a mom and pop shop and maybe I don't want to deal with that? So it's more of a way to, get above a certain bar. But yeah, I think everybody should have a website these days and some social media.
Okay. What are your thoughts on sending e-blasts to paid lists?
Personally, I've never had any. I've been doing this since 2006. And what happens a lot of times when you get the paid list is they come back. A lot of them bounce. They're not really great lists a lot of times. And then you get shut down by MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever you're using because the lists are outdated or bad. Even if you do get a good list, the problem is you haven't done the hard work of branding. So they might get this email from you, but they're like, who is this guy and why is he sending this to me? So we haven't really did our work. And so the email marketing is a great tool, but I believe it works best when it's done with all those different pieces of the puzzle that I was showing
you. Okay. I have a very limited marketing budget, but I would like to do some Facebook advertising. How do I make the most of my small budget when I'm putting together ads?
You can try to do it yourself. It can get, the Facebook advertising, what I tell everybody is, and I'm biased because this is what I do mostly, is the organic. I believe the organic marketing is more important, and then the advertising comes in afterwards to fill in the gaps that the organic can't help. The other thing that sometimes I don't think people understand is to really be able to get anywhere with the Facebook advertising or the Google advertising is that it requires a budget of at least probably $500 or $1,000 a month, and then a company like mine is going to want to charge a management fee to optimize that. So you can look, most of the management fees are somewhere between $150 and $200 a month to manage a budget of about $500 to $2,500. So it can get really expensive real quick. Now, if you want to try to do something on your own and you're pretty tech savvy, you can go in there and do it a heck of a lot less and go in and get granular. But if you have somebody help you sometime, I think you're going to have a hard time, busting through by using a company to help you.
Okay. So this is the last question. What are some easy ways to track the success of my online marketing?
The easiest way, and the one that doesn't cost anything to look at, is go in Google Analytics, make sure that you have your all the things set up with Google Analytics so that it can track, and then go in and see what kind of traffic you're getting, where they're going, and what pages they're going to, and if you have any blogs on there, what blogs they're going to see what people are interested in. So I would say Google Analytics is probably the one. So you want to go in there and see where they're coming, how often, how long people are staying, and all that kind of deal. So, and then the other thing is you can go in and do insights on Facebook or any of the other social media. But there is a bunch of other aggregators, but I don't think most people really use those unless they have a larger company or they have a business that's helping them.
Okay. And we did actually get one more question here. This client helps this agent helps their clients enroll in Medicare. And one of the websites has the word Medicare in it, but when you click on it, they are taken to the Medicare helpline. So their question would be, would it be better to use a site name without the popular word of Medicare, without that popular keyword?
Yeah, so the name of the URL, the name of the website can help. But the other thing is, if you already have a website out that doesn't have the name in it, you can go on all of your pages and make sure that the page name and the meta information that's in each one of the pages has all the information in that would be Medicare, to try to grab people from there. So there's a couple ways to do it. I don't think it's the end of the world if it doesn't have Medicare in the URL, as long as you're doing the right things, search engine optimization wise, and clustering some posts with Medicare on your website, so that you show up in the higher rankings.
All right, it looks like that's all the questions that we have for today. Thank you all for joining. If you'd like a copy of this presentation, please feel free to email me at jlarkin@crnstone.com. The recording is also going to be available on the Resource Center, along with all the other webinar recordings from this series and others. If you have a few minutes after the webinar, please take some time to fill out the survey so we can learn what kind of content you're most interested in. I'm actually brainstorming topics for the 2022 webinar series, so feel free to contact me with any ideas. And I'd like to thank Dan for joining us today and for offering his expertise. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks everybody for listening to me.
And everyone have a great day and stay safe out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.